Hi there. The day I discovered Mariah's betrayal began like any other. It was an ordinary Tuesday, and I had just returned home from work, ready for a quiet evening. The humdrum routine of my life was a comfort I had come to rely on. I placed my keys on the table and shrugged off my coat, already looking forward to a cup of tea and my favorite book. As I walked into the house, I noticed Maria's phone buzzing incessantly on the kitchen counter. Normally, I wouldn't snoop, respecting the privacy that is essential in any relationship. But this time, curiosity got the better of me. What could be so important? I muttered to myself, picking up her phone. The screen displayed a series of messages from someone named Daniel. The content was explicit, leaving no room for misinterpretation. My heart pounded as I scrolled through the chat history, finding photos and declarations of love that left me cold and numb. Maria, my wife of 10 years, was having an affair. My vision blurred as I tried to process what I was seeing. The realization hit me like a freight train. Our marriage, which I thought was solid, was crumbling before my eyes. I couldn't believe that the woman I had shared my life with, the one I trusted above all others, had betrayed me so completely. The initial shock soon gave way to a burning anger. I felt humiliated, not just by Mariah's infidelity, but by the fact that she had lied to me, deceived me, and made a mockery of our life together. As I stood there clutching her phone, I knew I had to do something. Confronting her outright seemed futile. I wanted her to feel the same pain and humiliation she had inflicted on me. After a few minutes of staring blankly at her phone, I heard the sound of the front door opening. Maria walked in, her face lighting up as she saw me. "Hey, love," she said, setting down her bag and walking over to kiss me. I turned my face away, unable to hide my disgust. "What's wrong?" she asked, her brow furrowing in concern. I held up her phone. "Who is Daniel?" I asked, my voice cold and detached. Maria's face went pale. "Jackson, it's not what you think," she began, reaching out to take the phone from me. "Not what I think," I said, my voice rising. "So you're not having an affair with this man? These messages are fake, are they?" Tears welled up in her eyes. "I can explain," she said, her voice trembling. "Please just let me explain." "Explain what?" I snapped. "How you've been lying to me? How you've been sneaking around behind my back?" Maria's shoulders slumped, and she sank down onto a chair. "I never meant for this to happen," she said quietly. It just did." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You never meant for it to happen?" I repeated, incredulous. "You made a choice, Maria. You chose to betray me." The silence that followed was deafening. I felt a mixture of rage and sorrow, my heart aching with the weight of her betrayal. "How long?" I finally asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Maria looked down at her hands. 6 months, she said, her voice filled with regret. 6 months. Half a year of lies and deceit. I felt like I was going to be sick. "Why?" I asked, struggling to understand. "Why would you do this to us?" Maria looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. "I don't know," she said. "I was unhappy. I felt like we were drifting apart, and Daniel, he made me feel wanted again." "Wanted," I echoed, my anger flaring up again. "So instead of talking to me, your husband, you decided to find comfort in another man?" Maria sobbed, burying her face in her hands. "I'm sorry," she said. "I know I've hurt you, and I'll do anything to make it right." Her words rang hollow in my ears. The damage was done, and there was no going back. "I need some time to think," I said, my voice breaking. "I can't be around you right now." Maria looked up, her eyes wide with panic. "Please, Jackson," she begged. "Don't leave. We can work through this. I love you." "Love?" I spat. "If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this." I turned and walked out of the house, slamming the door behind me. As I walked down the street, my mind raced with thoughts of betrayal and heartbreak. I needed to clear my head, to figure out what my next steps would be. I wandered aimlessly for hours, lost in my thoughts. The sun had set by the time I returned home. The house was dark and silent, a stark contrast to the turmoil inside me. I made my way to the bedroom, where I found Maria sitting on the edge of the bed, her face streaked with tears. "Jackson," she said softly, looking up at me. "Please, let's talk." I shook my head. "There's nothing to talk about," I said. "I need space." I gathered a few things and headed to the guest room, closing the door behind me. I lay down on the bed, staring up at the ceiling, my mind racing with a million thoughts. Sleep eluded me, and I spent the night tossing and turning, haunted by images of Maria and Daniel together. The next morning, I woke up feeling drained and exhausted. Maria was already up, sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee. She looked up as I entered the room, her eyes red and puffy from crying. "I'm going to stay with my sister for a few days," I said, avoiding her gaze. "I need some time to think." Maria nodded, her face crumpling with sorrow. "I understand," she said quietly. "Take all the time you need." I packed a bag and left the house, my heart heavy with the weight of her betrayal. As I drove to my sister's place, I couldn't help but replay the events of the previous day over and over in my mind. The pain was still fresh, and I knew that it would take time to heal. When I arrived at my sister's house, she greeted me with a warm hug. "I'm so sorry, Jackson," she said, her voice filled with sympathy. "Stay as long as you need." "Thanks, Emily," I said, grateful for her support. "I just need some time to process everything." Over the next few days, I tried to keep myself busy, helping Emily with chores around the house and spending time with her kids. But no matter how hard I tried to distract myself, the pain of Maria's betrayal was always there, lurking in the back of my mind. One evening, as we sat on the porch, Emily looked at me with concern. "Jackson, have you thought about what you're going to do?" she asked gently. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. "I don't know," I admitted. "Part of me wants to try and work things out, but another part of me just wants to walk away." Emily nodded, understanding my dilemma. "Whatever you decide, just know that I'm here for you," she said, giving my hand a reassuring squeeze. As the days turned into weeks, I began to realize that my marriage with Maria was beyond repair. The trust that had once been the foundation of our relationship was shattered, and no amount of apologies or promises could fix it. I made the difficult decision to file for divorce, knowing that it was the only way to move forward. When I finally told Maria, she was devastated. "Please, Jackson," she begged, tears streaming down her face. "Don't do this. We can work through it." But I knew in my heart that it was over. "I'm sorry, Maria," I said, my voice filled with sadness. "I can't live like this anymore. I need to move on." The next few months were a blur of legal proceedings and emotional turmoil. Maria tried to fight the divorce, but in the end she had no choice but to accept it. Our 10 years together ended with a few signatures on a piece of paper, and just like that, our lives were forever changed. As I walked out of the courthouse on the day our divorce was finalized, I felt a strange mix of relief and sorrow. The weight of the past year had taken its toll, but I knew that this was the first step towards healing. I took a deep breath, letting the fresh air fill my lungs, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a glimmer of hope. The journey ahead would not be easy, but I was determined to find a way to move forward. I had been broken, but I was not defeated. With each passing day, I grew stronger, learning to embrace the uncertainty of the future and the endless possibilities it held. And so, with a heart full of determination, I took my first steps into this new chapter of my life, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. I spent the next few days in a haze, pretending everything was fine whenever Maria was around. It was excruciating, but I needed time to plan my next move. The nights were the worst, lying awake beside her, the anger and betrayal gnawing at my soul. I couldn't confront her yet. I needed concrete evidence of her affair to ensure there would be no denying it. Divorce was inevitable, but I wanted to ensure I had the upper hand. I decided to enlist the help of a private investigator to gather this evidence. The idea of spying on Maria felt wrong, but I had no other choice. I needed to know everything, and I needed to be prepared for whatever might come next. I found Linda, a private investigator with a solid reputation for discretion and thoroughness. Meeting her in a small, dimly lit cafe, I explained my situation. "Jackson, you sure you want to go down this road?" asked Linda, her eyes scanning my face for any hesitation. She was a sharp and discreet professional, with years of experience in uncovering secrets. "I have to, Linda. I need to know everything," I replied, my voice heavy with determination. Linda nodded, understanding the gravity of my situation. "I'll start right away. I'll need access to her social media accounts, email, and any other communication tools she uses." I handed her a list of Maria's accounts, feeling a pang of guilt as I did so. "Do whatever it takes," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. The next few days were torturous. I went through the motions of daily life, trying to maintain a facade of normalcy. Maria seemed oblivious to my inner turmoil, which only fueled my anger. How could she go on pretending everything was fine after what she had done? The deception was maddening. One evening, as we sat down to dinner, Maria looked at me with a worried expression. "Jackson, you've been so distant lately. Is everything okay?" she asked, her voice filled with concern. I forced a smile, my heart pounding in my chest. "Just work stress," I lied. "It's been a tough few weeks." Maria reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "I'm here for you, you know. If you need to talk about anything, I'm always here." Her words felt like a knife to my heart. The hypocrisy was almost unbearable. "I know," I said, pulling my hand away. "Thanks." That night, I received a call from Linda. "Jackson, I have some information for you," she said, her voice low and serious. "Can you meet me tomorrow morning?" "Yes, of course," I replied, my heart racing with anticipation. "I'll be there." The next morning, I met Linda in the same cafe. She handed me a folder, her expression grim. "It's all in there," she said. "Photos, videos, even audio recordings. She's been meeting with Daniel at a hotel across town. They've been very careful, but not careful enough." I opened the folder, my hand shaking. The photos showed Maria and Daniel together, laughing, holding hands, and even kissing. The videos were worse, capturing intimate moments that made my stomach turn. The audio recordings revealed their conversations, filled with declarations of love and plans for the future. As I reviewed the material, an idea began to form in my mind. Divorce would be too easy, too straightforward. I wanted Maria to experience the full consequences of her actions. I decided to destroy her reputation, both socially and professionally. I knew Maria cared deeply about her image and her career. Taking those away would hurt her more than anything else. Linda looked at me, her eyes filled with concern. "Jackson, are you sure you want to go this far?" she asked. "Revenge can be a dangerous path." I nodded, my jaw set with determination. "She needs to understand the gravity of her actions. She needs to feel the pain she's caused." Linda sighed, but nodded. "All right, I'll help you with whatever you need. Just be careful, Jackson." I spent the next few days planning my next steps. I knew I had to be meticulous, ensuring that my actions would have the desired effect without leaving any room for retaliation. First, I anonymously shared the proof of Mariah's infidelity with our closest friends and family. The fallout was immediate, people were shocked, and the whispers began to spread through our social circle. Mariah's carefully curated image of the perfect wife and successful businesswoman was unraveling. One evening, I received a call from one of our friends, Sarah. "Jackson, I can't believe what I'm hearing. Is it true? Is Maria really having an affair?" I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the conversation. "Yes, Sarah, it's true. I found out a few weeks ago, and it's been devastating." Sarah's voice was filled with sympathy. "I'm so sorry, Jackson. If there's anything I can do to help, please let me know." "Thank you, Sarah," I replied, my voice heavy with gratitude. "I appreciate it." Next, I sent the same evidence to her employer. Maria worked for a prestigious PR firm, and her reputation was everything in her line of work. The firm had strict codes of conduct, and an affair, especially one involving deceit and scandal, was a direct violation of their policies. The firm acted swiftly. Maria was suspended pending an investigation, and within days she was fired. Seeing Mariah's life unravel gave me a twisted sense of satisfaction. I had been wronged, and now she was paying the price. But there was still one more step to take. I filed for divorce, citing infidelity as the cause. With the evidence I had, the proceedings were quick and heavily favored me. The court granted me the majority of our assets, including the house and our savings, leaving Maria with little more than the clothes on her back. As the divorce proceedings dragged on, Maria tried to reach out to me several times. Each time, I ignored her calls and messages, unable to face her. The pain was still too raw, and I couldn't bear to hear her voice. One evening, I received a knock on my door. I opened it to find Maria standing there, looking worn and defeated. "Jackson, please," she said, her voice breaking. "Can we talk?" I stared at her for a moment, my heart a mix of anger and sorrow. "There's nothing left to say, Maria," I said, my voice cold. "You've made your choices, and now you have to live with the consequences." She sobbed, her shoulders shaking with the weight of her regret. I know I hurt you, and I'm so sorry. I just, I just want to make things right. I shook my head, the bitterness rising within me. You can't. It's too late for that. With that, I closed the door, shutting her out of my life for good. As I leaned against the door, I felt a wave of exhaustion wash over me. The battle was over, but the scars remained. In the days that followed, I focused on rebuilding my life. I threw myself into my work, finding solace in the routines and challenges it provided. I reconnected with old friends, leaning on them for support and guidance. Slowly but surely, I began to find a sense of normalcy again. But the journey was far from over. The pain of Mariah's betrayal still lingered, and the road to healing was long and arduous. Yet, with each passing day, I grew stronger, determined to move forward and leave the past behind. And so, I faced the future with a newfound resilience, ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead. Armed with the evidence, I started to implement my plan. First, I anonymously shared the proof of Mariah's infidelity with our closest friends and family. The fallout was immediate and dramatic. People were shocked, and whispers began to spread through our social circle. Mariah's carefully curated image of the perfect wife and successful businesswoman was unraveling at an alarming rate. It started with an email. I created a new anonymous account and sent the incriminating photos, videos, and audio recordings to a select group of people. The message was simple. I thought you should know the truth about Maria. The responses were swift and varied, ranging from disbelief to outrage. Some friends called me immediately, offering their support and expressing their disgust at Mariah's actions. Others distanced themselves, unsure how to react to the scandal. One evening, I received a call from our mutual friend Sarah. Her voice was filled with a mixture of concern and anger. "Jackson, I just got your email. Is this for real? I can't believe it." "Yes, it's real, Sarah," I replied, my voice steady. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way, but I thought you deserved to know the truth." Sarah sighed heavily. "I'm so sorry you're going through this. If there's anything I can do to help, please let me know." "Thank you, Sarah," I said, feeling a pang of gratitude amidst the turmoil. "Just knowing you're there means a lot." As the days passed, the news of Maria's affair spread like wildfire. The social gatherings we used to attend became battlegrounds of gossip and speculation. Mariah's friends, who once admired her, now looked at her with a mixture of pity and disdain. It was exactly what I had intended. Her reputation was in tatters, and the social standing she had worked so hard to build was crumbling. Next, I targeted her professional life. Maria worked for a prestigious PR firm, and her reputation was everything in her line of work. I knew that an affair, especially one involving deceit and scandal, would be a direct violation of the firm's code of conduct. I sent the same evidence to her employer, making sure to highlight the dates and details that proved her infidelity. The firm acted swiftly. Within days, Maria was suspended pending an investigation. The news spread quickly within the industry, and soon her name was synonymous with scandal. The suspension turned into a termination, and Maria found herself without a job or prospects. Her professional reputation, which she had spent years building, was destroyed in an instant. Seeing Mariah's life unravel gave me a twisted sense of satisfaction. I had been wronged, and now she was paying the price. But there was still one more step to take. I filed for divorce, citing infidelity as the cause. With the overwhelming evidence I had gathered, the proceedings were quick and heavily favored me. The court granted me the majority of our assets, including the house and our savings, leaving Maria with little more than the clothes on her back. The divorce proceedings were a bitter and painful process. Each meeting with our lawyers was a reminder of the life we had once shared and the betrayal that had shattered it. Maria looked worn and defeated, her usual confident demeanor replaced by a fragile uncertainty. She tried to reach out to me several times, but I ignored her calls and messages, unable to face her. One afternoon, as I was leaving a meeting with my lawyer, I saw Maria waiting for me outside the building. She looked tired and gaunt, her eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and desperation. "Jackson, please," she said, her voice trembling. "Can we talk?" I stared at her for a moment, my heart a mix of anger and sorrow. "There's nothing left to say, Maria," I said, my voice cold. "You've made your choices, and now you have to live with the consequences." She sobbed, her shoulders shaking with the weight of her regret. "I know I hurt you, and I'm so sorry. I just want to make things right. I shook my head, the bitterness rising within me. You can't. It's too late for that. With that, I turned and walked away, leaving her standing there, a picture of desolation. As I made my way home, I felt a wave of exhaustion wash over me. The battle was over, but the scars remained. In the days that followed, I tried to focus on rebuilding my life. I threw myself into my work, finding solace in the routines and challenges it provided. I reconnected with old friends, leaning on them for support and guidance. Slowly but surely, I began to find a sense of normalcy again. But the journey was far from over. The pain of Mariah's betrayal still lingered, and the road to healing was long and arduous. Yet with each passing day, I grew stronger, determined to move forward and leave the past behind. One evening, as I sat alone in my living room, I found myself reflecting on the events that had transpired. The anger that had once consumed me was slowly being replaced by a sense of acceptance. I realized that while I had succeeded in exacting revenge, it hadn't brought me the closure or satisfaction I had expected. The pain of betrayal still lingered, and the scars ran deep, but life moved on, as it always does, and so did I, ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead. The final confrontation with Maria was inevitable. She came to me, desperate and broken, seeking some form of reconciliation, or at least understanding. We met at a small cafe, away from prying eyes. As she sat across from me, I could see the toll the last few weeks had taken on her. She looked gaunt and weary, her confident demeanor replaced by a fragile uncertainty. "Jackson," she began, her voice trembling. "I know I've hurt you, and I'm sorry. I made a mistake, a terrible mistake, but what you're doing, it's destroying me." I looked at her, feeling a strange mix of anger and pity. "Maria, you destroyed us the moment you decided to cheat. You made your choices, and now you're facing the consequences." She flinched at my words, tears welling in her eyes. "I never wanted to hurt you. I was lost, confused. I didn't know how to fix things between us." I shook my head, my voice cold and unyielding. "You had a choice, Maria. You could have talked to me, sought help, anything but this. You chose deceit and betrayal. Now you have to live with the results." She sobbed quietly, the weight of her actions crashing down on her. I know I deserve this, but please, can't we find a way to work through this? To at least be civil?" "Civil?" I repeated, a bitter laugh escaping me. "You want civility after everything? No, Maria, this is the end. The divorce will be finalized soon, and then you're on your own. I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for, but it won't be with me." Maria looked down at her hands, twisting a napkin nervously. "I understand why you're angry. I betrayed your trust in the worst possible way. But can you at least try to understand why it happened? Why I felt so lost?" I felt my anger flare again, but I forced myself to listen. "All right, Maria, explain it to me. Tell me why you felt the need to destroy everything we built together." She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "It started when we began to drift apart. I felt like you were always working, always preoccupied with something other than us. I was lonely, Jackson. And then Daniel came along. He made me feel wanted, appreciated. It was wrong, I know that now. But at the time, I was desperate for any kind of connection." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. Part of me wanted to dismiss her reasons as mere excuses, but another part recognized the truth in them. We had drifted apart. I had thrown myself into work, often at the expense of our relationship. But that didn't justify her betrayal. "So instead of talking to me, instead of trying to fix what was broken, you chose to cheat," I said, my voice cold. "You chose to betray me." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I did, and I'm so sorry. I can't take it back, but I want to make things right. I don't expect you to forgive me, but please, can we at least try to move past this?" I sighed, feeling the weight of her words. Moving past this doesn't mean forgetting or forgiving, Maria. It means acknowledging what happened and dealing with the consequences. You need to understand that our marriage is over. There's no going back. Maria wiped her tears, her shoulders slumping in defeat. "I understand. I wish things could have been different." "So do I replied, my voice softening slightly. "But we can't change the past. We can only move forward." She nodded, taking a shaky breath. "Thank you for listening, Jackson. I know I don't deserve your kindness, but I appreciate it. I stood up, feeling the need to leave. Take care of yourself, Maria. I hope you find the peace you're looking for. As I walked out of the cafe, I felt a strange sense of relief. The confrontation, though painful, had brought a sense of closure. It was clear that there was no salvaging our marriage, but at least we had faced the truth head-on. The road ahead would be difficult, but I was ready to move forward and start anew. In the days that followed, I continued to focus on rebuilding my life. I sought therapy to help process the emotional turmoil, learning to navigate the complex feelings of hurt, anger, and loss. It was a long and arduous journey, but with each passing day, I felt myself growing stronger and more resilient. One evening, I found myself reflecting on the past few months. The anger that had once consumed me was slowly being replaced by a sense of acceptance. I realized that while Mariah's betrayal had been devastating, it had also forced me to confront my own shortcomings and take responsibility for my part in the breakdown of our marriage. It wasn't an easy realization, but it was a necessary one. I began to see that healing would come not from revenge or anger, but from understanding and forgiveness, both of Maria and of myself. It was a difficult path, but I was determined to walk it. As I continued to focus on my own growth and healing, I started to rebuild my social life. I reconnected with old friends and even made new ones, gradually creating a support network that helped me navigate the challenges ahead. I also threw myself into my work, finding solace in the routines and challenges it provided. Through therapy and self-reflection, I began to understand the importance of communication and trust in relationships. I learned to value myself, to set boundaries, and to communicate openly and honestly. These lessons were hard-earned, but they were crucial for my journey forward. One day, as I was sitting in my living room, I received a message from an old friend, inviting me to a gathering. At first, I hesitated, unsure if I was ready to socialize again. But then I realized that this was another step in my healing process. I needed to move forward, to embrace new experiences and opportunities. At the gathering, I found myself surrounded by people who genuinely cared about me. It was a comforting and healing experience, reminding me that life goes on and that new beginnings are always possible. I even met someone who shared similar experiences of betrayal and healing, and our conversations provided a sense of mutual understanding and support. As the months passed, I continued to focus on my own growth and healing. I knew that the journey was far from over, but I felt a renewed sense of hope and determination. The past had left its scars, but it had also taught me valuable lessons about resilience, self-worth, and the importance of surrounding oneself with supportive and understanding people. And so, as I faced the future, I did so with a sense of optimism and strength. The road ahead would undoubtedly have its challenges, but I was ready to embrace them, knowing that I had the tools and support to navigate whatever lay ahead. The past had shaped me, but it did not define me. I was ready to move forward and create a new and fulfilling chapter in my life. The weeks following our final confrontation felt like a whirlwind, a series of rapid, disorienting shifts that left me grappling to keep up. The divorce proceedings unfolded with a startling efficiency. The overwhelming evidence of Mariah's infidelity made the case clear-cut, and the legal process moved swiftly. I retained the house and the bulk of our shared assets, while Maria was left to navigate the uncertainties of starting over from scratch. It was a harsh resolution, but in my heart, I felt it was a necessary consequence of the betrayal I had endured. As I began to settle into this new chapter of my life, I found myself reflecting on the tumultuous journey that had led me here. The anger and desire for revenge that had consumed me during those dark days began to dissipate, gradually replaced by a profound sense of emptiness. I had succeeded in my quest for retribution, but it hadn't delivered the closure or satisfaction I had anticipated. The pain of betrayal still lingered, a persistent ache that seemed to seep into every aspect of my life. The scars, both visible and invisible, were deeper than I had realized. But life, as it often does, pressed on. I threw myself into my work with renewed vigor, finding solace in the familiar routines and challenges of my job. The office, once a place of routine, became a refuge where I could focus my energy and regain a semblance of control. I reached out to old friends, reconnecting with those who had been a part of my life before the storm. Their support was invaluable, and their presence helped anchor me during this period of upheaval. I also ventured into new social circles, meeting new people, and gradually rebuilding my social life. This sense of renewal was both invigorating and daunting, but it was a necessary step in my journey. Recognizing that I needed more than just work and social interactions to heal, I sought therapy. The sessions provided a safe space to confront and process the emotional turmoil that had become a constant companion. My therapist guided me through a complex web of feelings: hurt, anger, loss, and confusion. Through this process, I began to understand the depth of my pain and the importance of addressing it. It was a journey of self-discovery, learning to navigate the intricate landscape of my emotions and gradually finding a path towards healing. One quiet evening, as I sat alone in the tranquility of my living room, I found myself contemplating the future. For the first time in months, a flicker of hope began to stir within me. I realized that while the past was irrevocably etched in my history, it didn't have to dictate my future. The experiences I had endured, however painful, had imparted valuable lessons about trust, resilience, and the importance of self-respect. The journey had not been for naught. It had shaped me into someone who could face the future with a newfound strength. It was during this period of reflection that I decided to take a proactive step towards healing. I reached out to a local support group dedicated to individuals who had experienced infidelity. This group became a lifeline, offering a space where I could share my story, hear others' experiences, and draw strength from a community of people who understood my pain. The group sessions were a source of comfort, providing a sense of solidarity and reminding me that I was not alone in my struggle. It was reassuring to hear the stories of others who had navigated similar challenges and emerged stronger on the other side. Through these connections, I encountered individuals who had managed to rebuild their lives after betrayal, discovering new love and happiness. Their stories were both poignant and inspiring, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. These accounts of renewal and growth illuminated the possibility that, despite the end of my marriage with Maria, my own chance at happiness was far from over. It was simply the conclusion of one chapter and the commencement of a new one. Gradually, I began to dip my toes into the waters of dating again. The process was cautious and fraught with apprehension. The fear of being hurt once more was a constant companion, but I knew that allowing past pain to dictate my future was not an option. I had to take risks, open my heart to the possibility of new relationships, and embrace the potential for joy and connection. The journey was neither quick nor easy, but each step forward was a testament to my commitment to building a meaningful and fulfilling life. As months gradually turned into years, I began to notice a profound transformation within myself. I grew stronger and more confident, learning to truly value my own worth. I became adept at setting clear boundaries and communicating openly and honestly in my relationships. The journey of moving forward was far from straightforward. It was characterized by a series of setbacks and breakthroughs. Despite the obstacles, I came to understand that while revenge might have given a fleeting sense of justice, true and lasting healing emerged from the practice of forgiveness, both towards Maria and towards myself. One evening, while sitting in my living room, I reflected on my progress. My friend Tom, who had been a steady source of support, visited. "You've come a long way," he said, pouring 2 glasses of wine. "Remember when you used to talk about revenge all the time?" I nodded, taking a sip. I thought that would be the key to my closure, but I've learned that healing isn't about revenge, it's about letting go. Tom raised his glass. "Here's to moving forward and finding peace." I met someone special over time who seemed to genuinely understand and appreciate me for who I was. Our relationship developed slowly, but was built on a solid foundation of trust, respect, and mutual understanding. It was not a fairy tale, but it was authentic and grounded in reality. On one of our early dates, Sarah asked, "What's the most important lesson you've learned from your past experiences?" I looked into her eyes, reflecting on the journey. It's that while perfection is elusive, genuine connections and shared values are what truly matter. We both have pasts, but what matters is how we grow from them and support each other. Sarah smiled, touching my hand. "That's exactly what I believe too. It's about the journey, not just the destination." Reflecting on my journey, I recognized that the path to healing and happiness was winding and complex. It was filled with ups and downs, challenges and triumphs. This journey required patience, self-compassion, and a willingness to embrace the unknown. My therapist, Dr. Roberts, once said, "Healing isn't linear. It's a process, and it's okay to have setbacks. What's important is that you keep moving forward." Standing at the threshold of this new chapter in my life, I felt a deep sense of gratitude. I was grateful for the lessons learned, for the people who supported me, and for the inner strength I had discovered. During a conversation with my mentor, Jane, she shared, "I've watched you grow so much. It's amazing to see how you've turned your struggles into strength." I responded with a smile. "Thank you, Jane. It hasn't been easy, but I've learned that life is about more than enduring pain and betrayal. It's about embracing growth, love, and the endless possibilities each new day offers." I knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, I was ready to face them with resilience and hope. Embracing this new beginning, I felt a renewed sense of optimism and readiness for whatever the future might hold. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos.